Hello, I'm Robin Clayfield. I live at Crystal Waters Permaculture Eco Village here, which is in southeast Queensland, Australia. I've lived here for 35 years and bought into the plan when I was quite a young woman and moved here to raise my children. So I'm a grandmother, a mother. Both my kids grew up here at Crystal Waters, and also my two grandsons for a time. One of my big passions is permaculture. It's a permaculture village after all, which is part of the reason that I moved here. So I'm very interested in helping other people look through that lens of permaculture to design for their own living environments, to design for a better world on whatever scale and for whatever context that might be. So Martin's asked me a question that I might talk about today, and it's about how do we live better, help the world be a better place, but also have less stress and, not have to be earning money all the time to be able to afford to have our needs met in a more mainstream society. So I guess I'll take a permaculture view of that in a way, but also I really like social permaculture, which is designing social spaces and social environments to be more nurturing and more helpful for all of us together. So I guess I'll start by saying that living more simply is probably the first answer to my question, and there's so many ways to live more simply and to start to pull back from the massive consumerism that most societies around the world have found themselves entangled in. I know I certainly am tempted by all of the buy this and shop and, go here, do that, and it all costs money, and the cost of rents or having land and affording to pay the costs of that land are skyrocketing. So many young families aren't even able to get into the market to be able to have their own piece of land or things like that. So I guess at Crystal Waters, on the piece of land that I caretake, I've been looking at some ways that other people can live there with us. I don't particularly want to own land. I just feel like I'm a caretaker of the land. And when there's a few of us all sharing land together and putting our energy and our time into growing food, into creating incomes for ourselves that are more a gentle lifestyle option, creating our own firewood and making sure we've got all that ready for the winter, making fibre, for example, from our banana trunks. Once they've produced the bananas, then the whole trunk, I often make fibre out of that and share with other people how to do that. And so living more simply with what's there, what's on the land, having chickens so that we've got our own eggs, that kind of stuff. We have a friend who lives on the land with us who has his own cows, and he milks the cows, and sometimes I don't eat meat, but he does, so he makes sure he can provide his own meat. And having people come help in the garden to learn how to grow more food, so we're needing to go to the shops less often for food. They're all quite obvious things that we can do to help live better for less and have a healthier lifestyle. But there's other things financially that we can do too. I'm part of a LET system, which is a local energy transfer system, and it's like a big barter system, but you don't barter one-on-one with people. You just have a balance of zero when you start, and you might offer something to someone, and my account would go up if I do a service for somebody or give them some produce, and their balance would go down. Another day they might share something with someone else, so their balance goes up and that person's goes down, and just across time your balance goes up and down, and it doesn't matter if you're in debit or credit, it's all energy just moving through the system. And so people are able to provide for some of their needs without having to pay money. And I've written a permaculture garden cookbook, and I offer that on the system for 100% LETS units. And so often people will want that, and so my balance goes up 40 units and theirs goes down. I'll get massages where I pay let's units, that kind of thing. More produce from people would be good. I'm also part of Mullaney Seed and Harvest Swap. Once a month, a young woman from the local town has started something where you bring along any surplus produce you've got, seeds, seedlings, plants, or cuttings, all kinds of things, and you bring it, eggs, honey, and you just put it out on the table, and then at 9 o'clock everybody gets to just go around all the tables and take whatever they want. You don't have to barter, this is worth that kind of thing. You just take what you want to contribute, and then you take whatever you want to take home with you from what other people have bought. It's the most lovely hive of activity. I like it a lot. It's fun, and it feels nurturing for my heart and soul, as well as for my economy, I guess. Something else that I'm part of in the local bioregion here is a microfinance system, which is a group of 20 of us, and we don't have more than 20 places. There's only ever 20 of us, and we all put in $10 a fortnight into the club, and that gets accrued, and if we ever leave the club we get the whole lot of that back. But after 6 months of making that contribution, we can borrow money from the Earth Benefits Club, and we can borrow up to $4,000 for a green loan, something that is supportive of the environment, like rainwater tanks or possibly solar batteries or that kind of thing. Or we can borrow up to $3,000 for a personal loan, and they're no interest loans, and we just pay them back over 2 or 3 years, and the money's pooled in by everybody, and it goes paid back, and so the pool stays the same. It's built on trust, so we all meet together every 2 months and have a meal together and a meeting, and so we know each other. We're lending each other our money, and it's a no interest loan. And so for people like myself who, I don't have a big income, I chose not to have a mainstream lifestyle. I let go of mainstream media in the early 80s and haven't had TV, newspapers, radio, anything like that for, I don't know, do the maths, 40 years or something like that, a long time. So I'm not so influenced by those trends in society of spend more and buy this and do that kind of stuff. I was very depressed, I think, after doing my university in the late 70s and early 80s by the state of the world, and I kind of stepped back. That was one way that I helped my own psychology, by letting go of mainstream media and not paying that any attention. So it's meant I've taken a permaculture journey. I chose not to have a mainstream, work in the corporate world or do this career lifestyle. I chose to do permaculture and deep ecology and connect more with the earth, help do teaching and education around permaculture and group facilitation skills, because I feel that's a really valuable skill to have in our society at the moment, to be able to work with groups and creative decision making and be able to facilitate groups that are working for change so that they meet their purpose much better and less likely to have conflict or problems that need solving if we have good facilitation and good creative process. So I've put my life into that and into teaching permaculture, and I don't necessarily receive a big income from that, but somehow I found myself in position here at Crystal Waters where in the early days I bought into the eco-village here, and it's been the best thing. These days the prices are very expensive for people to buy in here, but a lot of us are more creative about how we support people on lower incomes to be able to live here too. So it's not just the people who can afford one of the big lots with a big flashy alternative house on it. It's more, how can we have people in tiny houses here? How can we invite more people to come woofing or work away, like willing workers on organic farms where you trade work for accommodation and food and things like that. And we have a lot of young people come who can do that, and some of us create spaces for people to come and work on the land with us where they just make a contribution to the rates and the levies, for the land, and we all working the land together. So that's not across the whole property here on Crystal Waters, but there's pockets of us on different lots here that are doing that. So it's just a little window, I guess, into my world, and some ways that we can live a bit better for less and feel good about ourselves internally and work with the earth and the soil and have a more simple lifestyle, really. So yeah, using less energy, trying to be off grid and use solar power, doing our best to grow lots of our own food, our own firewood, our own water, so we're not dependent on our internal water system here as much in case something goes wrong with it. To be fire safe. Yeah, growing lots of bamboo for different timber products and that kind of stuff, construction, and yeah, nice to share that with you.